1, 2, 3.
We are fortunate that it is after hours.
Where is it? Why is this fortunate?
You have that beepy sound going on again. Hello, and welcome to X-Rated, the X-Men Animated Review Show.
Who are you?
Very good question. I am your host, Dank McCoy.
We got him locked up in the basement.
That's pretty much true. I am in the basement. And, well, I'm not alone.
Where is he?
He's here. He's here. The Phalandre.
Howdy ho, neighborino.
Hey, howdy, howdy ho. It is a howdy ho, isn't it? It's a late howdy ho.
It is.
We were both playing a game of who can delay this show longer. Andre won. And you know what happened last time Andre was this late?
Men came. Many men.
That's true, they did.
It was a good time. We had a party. We hung out. We had a few drinks. It was nice. It's a great evening had by all.
Was indeed. So how you doing, Phalandre?
Not too shabby. Dan McCoy. Is this Oh, I get it.
Or
I thought
so
maybe
you're gonna-
it was.
you're gonna-
I thought maybe it was a weed reference, like Dank, but then I realized that it's just Hank with a D.
It's both.
Oh, that is, well, it works very well.
Yeah.
I like it.
One of my best.
I love it.
Were you gonna show us the new tat or what?
Did I tell you I was getting a tattoo?
Yeah.
Ah, well, I lied. I was at the. No, I did get a tattoo. Hold on 1 sec. Stop playing. Don't know how you can see it.
Oh, there's a microphone and such and
Yes.
flowers. I like flowers.
Does
it say Jen on it?
It says Davan. Yeah, it's for you. It's in honor of our
Mm.
podcasting. Let me see if I stand up. Maybe I can
Nice.
show it to you a bit.
Nice. Oh, Presley.
Yeah, it's a cat that died in November.
Oh, I
so.
thought it was just your pet name for me.
Well, that could be.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So it's the first of, I could eat one for Klaatu as well, but that'll be a while before I get that one. I'll probably get that one under here somewhere.
Good considering you just got it.
I literally just got home from getting it done.
It's not even red.
Well, he just did it.
The red's coming.
It's pretty sore. But actually, it's funny because it wasn't. I remember, like, he has a pretty light touch anyway as a tattooist. Like, he does really good work, really detailed, fine work, and he's not too heavy. Like, he doesn't hurt a lot. But this one seemed even easier than the last ones because he got like a new wireless tattooing gun now. You don't need the cord. So I don't know if it's just like they move a little better or whatever, but it's pretty cool. It's a neat little. So yeah, the process wasn't too bad. It was 3 hours, so it was not too shabby.
Nice.
Yeah,
we are here. We should probably say that this is X-Rated, the X-Men Animated Review Show. We said that.
Is it?
We said we're Davan and Andre, but what we didn't say is we're here to review season 5. We're here. We've made it.
We did.
The mysterious, the mythical season 5.
The forbidden door has been opened, and we have walked.
Exactly.
Episode
1, The Phalanx Covenant, Part 1. Written by writers of I think 5 episodes of this show. The writing pair Stephen Melching and David McDermott, and developed for television and story edited by friend of the show Eric Lee Wall. Larry H lost his spot because I don't think he had anything to do with this. He wasn't in the credits.
I swore I saw when I was looking at something that it was maybe IMDb doesn't have it all together. It says that the directors were Larry Houston and Fred Miller.
Really?
You say that?
No, I didn't say
supervising. That's what IMDb says. I don't know. Where'd you get your info from?
The credits of the show.
Oh, well, that's probably the better way to do it.
Normally where it would say directed and produced by Larry Houston, It does not say any lyrics.
Well, that might just be locked in from previous seasons or something.
It says line produced by Frank Squillis.
Squillis.
Yeah.
Oh, Squilly boy.
Yeah. So I don't know what to think.
That's all right.
But there you have it.
Here we are.
Yep.
We are on.
Murphy likes your wireless tat guns.
Yeah, they're very light. I must say. I'm pretty. I was surprised how I felt. It's funny because usually I find the line work is harder and the shading is easier. This time I felt like it was the opposite. But yeah. Yeah, no, he did a fantastic job. So he always does great work. He did this one. He did my cat that's also on there, the black cat one. He did my chest one. He did the Frankenstein one on my ankle. He did the Kraken, the Cthulhu tentacles on my other leg. So yeah, he's done a lot of work on me. Yeah, great work.
Lots of work to be done.
Still lots of room. I got this whole area, maybe an X-Men logo.
Oh, you were talking about tattoos. Interesting.
Oh, yes, of course. That's of course.
Previously on X-Men.
Let's get right into it since we're after hours. All right.
Thanks, Grey Malkin. Now take me back to a week before I left. To my son.
Take me back to a week before right now, and maybe I can get some sleep.
Take me back, won't you take me back? Before we get into this, I'd just like to say I was at the Soma Festival in PEI this past weekend. I got to see a lot of cool indie bands play. I saw Mumford & Sons, Grandson, Vance Joy, who I'm a big fan of, Charlotte Cardin, Maggie Rogers. I feel like I'm missing Joel Plaskett, which is awesome. Yeah, I did a really cool time. Good music festival. Good time had by all. All right, so the episode
Fest is happening right now here in Halifax.
I would have liked to go to that, but I was at this thing instead. I would like to see the Fleet Foxes. They weren't there on Sunday or something. I always find it funny that the jazz festival has like their headliners are all these non-jazz people. I guess it's because they need
usually
appeal. Well,
a lot of
I don't know if
festivals do that as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if the Ottawa Blues Festival never has blues acts.
Well, I don't know who the jazz festival would like. I know even Truro had the Dutch Mason Blues Festival, and they were like rock was the blues was what caused rock or created rock. So it's like their way of trying to kind of make sense as to why it happens. I'm sure it's purely to get numbers in to buy tickets, because otherwise you probably wouldn't get enough people for a blues festival for just blues music. Not saying they shouldn't, but they probably would. Yeah.
They try. I always go to a proper blues festival.
I would go to one. Let's go together sometime.
I don't need no fancy.
I would 100% go to the jazz festival just to go to a jazz festival. I don't need to see the Fleet Foxes to go to that.
Oh man, it's the jazz you want to see at a jazz festival.
It's the jazz. You
can see that other stuff anytime.
It's the jazz, man.
It is the jazz. All right, get us into it.
Okay, somebody's cranky. So it's all right.
A lot of delays tonight.
I'm sorry. Next week's even worse. I got a board meeting in Amherst again, so I'm not going to be here.
You're going to have to cancel it.
Probably. Yeah, definitely, because I won't get home till probably 10:30 or 11 that night. So, all right, we see the cops basically downtown. There is a truck that for some reason has Sabretooth in the back of it as he rips out the side and attacks a bunch of police officers. We then catch Jubilee and Beast, who are en route in the Blackbird because for somehow they've heard about this and they're going to pacify Sabretooth.
Why doesn't Sabretooth get a life?
I fear Sabretooth's rages are at times beyond his control.
That's the most gentlemanly way to describe Sabretooth.
I know, they're beyond his control. It does sound very nice, considering up until fairly recently, Sabretooth was involved in some pretty heinous stuff. Mostly trying to rewrite reality with the Mr. Sinister and Apocalypse, and all that sort of stuff. But anywho, who am I to judge? So Sabretooth's throwing cops around, being all Sabertoothy. But then they just kind of fly overhead in a really sort of not climactic isn't the end of the episode, but a really you expecting this big action sequence where they fight Sabretooth. They just gas everybody and knock them out, including Sabretooth and the cops and people on the street. Like everyone just like some pickpocket wanders by and just starts like going to town on everybody. It'd be pretty easy.
I find tranquilizing gas eminently preferable to physical aggression, and it tends to be much gentler on the citizenry.
That is an incredibly disturbing line out of context. play that one more time, please. I never thought of it.
I find tranquilizing gas eminently preferable to physical aggression, and it tends to be much gentler on the citizenry.
Well, good thing we have context.
Dealing with one crazed combatant is challenge enough.
We know Beast staves off loneliness, I guess. So
he's still dating that nice what is it, Carly?
Well, they weren't together at the end of that episode, although it does appear, based on some things going on in this episode, that he does have a connection to her still. Wait a second.
Get that coffee into you.
It's not coffee, it's just water. So Beast brings Sabretooth back, and they put him in a chamber. Professor X says that he, has to try. He knows that it's tough. He's tried before to reach Sabretooth, but he has to keep trying. And if he can't reach him, he'll turn him over.
Season 1 again. They tried this in like the 4th episode of this entire series.
I wonder if that was a part of their, I wonder if that came up, or if that was part of the reason why they decided to go this route with it, or just coincidentally, because it is very similar to the beginning of the season as well.
At least they mention it. At least he mentions it. If Professor X hadn't mentioned the fact that they were doing it again, it would have really seemed repetitive, I think.
We see Sabretooth open his eyes. Conveniently, he has pupils for this sequence, which he never has normally. But then we also see that he appears to be made up of some kind of cybernetic organism that may have taken him over his body, because it starts flashing yellow and all these little Cybertron-y little things, as you can see in our background in the picture we had in our start of this episode. That sort of thing. Pictures. We then see that sort of circuitry overtaking some of the Professor X's cerebral computer and other things, and start getting access to the files that Professor X has squirreled away in his little place there. So then Jubilee, who is the worst at keeping a secret, probably of all time, is walking up the hall with Storm, finishing a sentence that goes, Beast says Sabretooth won't be here for long, and then she opens the door and Wolverine's standing there in the kitchen. Like, why not, like, why guard talking about a sensitive subject when you're walking into a public area? I mean, what could go wrong? So
she's bad at it.
Literally, as they open the door, Wolverine's like, and he's just smashing like the pan that he had in the bread, and he just runs out of the room, learning that Sabretooth is there.
Sabretooth's trouble. He knows.
Then we cut to the X-Men getting super swole, and us realizing that Professor X is way more shredded than we ever knew now that we see him in a tank top.
Big flip onto the chair.
He does. He's on the bars. He does the flip to the other side while doing chair raises. With a tank top on, and he's got like crazy biceps and it's definitely shredded all over. So whatever he's doing, it's working well. But then he does this crazy flip. He does this crazy parallel flip into his own chair off the bars, which is great. I'd like to point out one thing. As we see the gym, we see Rogue in here. It doesn't say anything, but it's just in there. And then Storm, who's also working out of there, holding these two bars and doing like shoulder shrugs. Did you notice how much the weight on the machine above Storm said it was when she was doing those shrugs? How strong do you think Storm is?
Very. For a human woman.
Oh, no. Oh, never mind. I don't think it's Storm. It must be Rogue, because Storm was in the other room with Jubilee. She was walking with
Rogue
Jubilee.
Can lift ridiculous amount.
It's my mistake. When I first saw this clip and it flashed by me, I thought it was Storm because all I saw was the white, but it was actually Rogue using the shrug machine. Lifting
shrug a lot.
65 tons according to the machine above her head. 65,000 pounds is how much Rogue can shrug. So that's
isn't a ton 2,000 pounds?
You're right. So yeah, you're right. Sorry, it's like 2,000,
30,000 pounds.
Well, it's like 2,000.2 or something. It's because of the mess up metric system. But anyway, while they're working out, Wolverine busts into the room.
Can do it.
He's super upset that Sabretooth is there. Xavier says he doesn't have to check with Wolverine. It's his school. He can do what he wants. Wolverine, in a weird showing of what's the word I'm trying to think of? Restraint, just punches a hole in the wall with his claws and then agrees with Charles, but says that if Sabretooth is going to be here, he's going to be his babysitter, basically. And then they say, why can't you just go get some sleep? And he goes, I'd like to, but I can't, That's ain't gonna happen, he says, and then storms off.
I go where I want to go.
So we see the download is continuing. It's been going overnight, apparently, because when they gassed Sabretooth initially, they said it takes 8 hours for it to wear off, so they'll talk about it in the morning. But after they turned their back on him and put him in the cage, he came to life, and they started downloading this information. So 8 hours later, when we're all in the gym in the morning, he's only at 84%. So this is a pretty slow download. A lot of information they're downloading there out of the X Mansion.
It could be quicker than that. Because the Phalanx thing and everything, he could just pop to way quicker than they thought. But
no, he did. He hopped away right away the second they left the room. But they said it takes 8 hours before the morning comes, so it wouldn't be a shorter amount of time. It would be a later amount of time. But it's still if that's where we are in the time. But it's 84%, so they're chugging along. Obviously, it appears from what we're seeing that Sabretooth is downloading information somehow through the computers. But then we see he's standing unrestrained in his cell. And then he's visited by Wolverine, who's in full costume, ready to do battle. Basically.
You got it all wrong. I was busy, dreaming about taking you apart.
Gee, I was dreaming about that sweet little frail of yours.
Sabretooth's such a dick in this. I was dreaming of that sweet little piece of tail of yours. You didn't say.
And I killed that time.
Yeah.
Remember?
Well, he didn't. Silver Fox is the
I
one.
know he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Is the one from Weapon X. But yeah.
He thought he did.
Whenever we zoom in on his face, we see he actually has pupils. They're just white, which is weird. I don't know why they bother with that, but they zoom in on his face again and we see that. But when Wolverine is trading barbs with Sabretooth, he smells him and realizes that that's not Sabretooth. And goes into, he says, whoever you are, you wore the wrong set of skin, basically. And then he dives in to go attack him. Then we see Charles getting a frantic message in his office on his computer screen from a shadowy figure that needs help. Is this...
They're everywhere. They're inside the wall.
In the walls.
Your transmission is breaking up.
The voice sounds different. Is it still Mr. Britain?
Yeah. I don't know.
It does not sound like the same voice. But I guess we could ask him that if we...
Maybe they just didn't bring him in for that tiny little...
Well, no, because he's in a lot more towards the end. But anyway, so we see this person trying to reach out, saying that something's taking over and needs help. Xavier's trying to get through. I was wondering if this would be an easy, them trying to make us think it's a mystery, and then obviously giving us the shadow of the guy, which looks very much like Mr. Sinister's shadow, but then very quickly the signal strengthens, and we do see that it is
Mr. Sinister and Mr. Britain.
Yes,
check out our interview with the voice actor
last week. It's an awesome interview.
And actor.
Sinister actually looks a little more sinister, to use a phrase in this. Like his design got a little darker looking, and I think the goatee might have been new. Was it? It looks like it's thickened or wider or something. He looks a little more. I don't know. He's cool.
The animation's just different in this. I noticed it, but I was expecting
it is,
worse.
but it's good.
It's better.
I know I've heard the animation gets really bad in this, and maybe that's after this storyline, but this particular episode is probably the best animation I've seen in this show yet. It's fantastic. There's even when Sabretooth is in a cell and you can see he's already got out of his restraints, he's all shadowed and there's just a bit of light in the front and then he turns into the light, and it's really cool for an animation from the 90s. Super cool. So we see
seems one last hurrah, perhaps
so. And even sometimes the close-ups or the faraway shots of people are really weird looking. The close-ups are all impeccable in this one, and the faraway shots are great too. So, but we see Charles, who is trying to find out what's got Sinister all messed up.
There is no time for analysis.
Yeah,
he's freaking out every time Professor says it. He's just like, no, there's no time.
And Professor X, who is obviously forgotten that Sinister just tried to unwrite reality with Apocalypse not too long ago, but he's a good guy, so he's ready to help. Says that he's trying to get analysis on what's going on, but he's like, "There's no time. You just have to help." And then basically, as Charles is trying to help, a tendril comes from behind and grabs him. And it's funny because Sinister even tries to see, like, "Look up behind you, Professor," and then and then even Sinister seems like really upset. He's like, "Professor, no, Professor!" Just like,
Professor. It keeps echoing. It's like, Professor.
It kind of reminds me of like the scene from The Last Stand. There's a lot of bad ones in that X-Men movie, but one particular one is like at one point when Jean is like freaking out and the Phoenix is taking over, like Magneto's behind her, like, "Yes, Jean, let it flow. Yes, destroy, kill." And then Jean like kills Professor Xavier. And then later on, like Pyro makes some joke about Professor Xavier being dead, and Magneto's like, "That man dead more for mutant rights than you will ever know." And it's like you literally egged someone on to kill her earlier.
Yeah.
But anyway, we see Beast chilling out listening to jazz, as we mentioned earlier.
Yes.
It says in big words, it says right on the record label that's spinning, jazz. Which is funny because Beast even was an audiophile listening to records in a time when it wasn't that popular or easily accessible to get records.
I thought he was going to be listening to a Walkman or a Discman or something because it's the 90s and he's got
CDs are out there.
But then it like pans over and he's got his headphones plugged into his LP player.
But then he notices that the circuitry that was making up that attacked Professor X and seemed to be made up of the Sabretooth imposter is spreading over his stuff, so he escapes, tries to get out of there. But it starts following him.
You will be assimilated, perhaps,
but not this night.
It then forms into a giant kind of sort of GoBot looking thing. Yeah, it is sort of Ultron-y, GoBot-y, like Costco version of Transformers kind of thing. It's even got those little antennae in its head, like the guy from the Micronauts, which is kind of fun. So yeah, it seems it's chasing, going in through like the electrical outlets and kind of taking over the hallways and going after Beast. Beast is trying to get out of there. Basically, there's a lot. Beast comes into the main room where he sees all of the X-Men have been taken over by the Phalanx. They're trapped inside little pods. Wolverine's still struggling, and he tries to help him, but Wolverine tells him to run because save himself. There's no time. So before he can do that,
there's no time.
No time to explain. It's like that Simpsons.
Time for analysis.
Like that Simpsons where Nelson's like, "Something's going on. Come follow me. There's no time to explain." And they start running him. And then he's like, "Well, can't you tell us where we're going?" He's like, "There's no time." And then he stops. He's getting water. And then they're like, "Well, now you can tell us." He's like, "I would, but there's no time." And then like they just keep following him. So you see all of the X-Men are trapped in the Phalanx, except Logan, who's being sucked in. The robot that was chasing Beast kind of makes its presence known and solidifies Wolverine in his little tube, so he's stuck in there. Beast, however, does manage to make a hasty escape to his library to grab his backpack and then make it out the window. But as Beast has a backpack full of grenades. He uses a lot of grenades that he just happens to have stashed in a backpack for at any moment's notice that he may need.
It happens a lot in the show, though, where he just shows up with a big old friggin' gun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or some kind of science.
Relatively slow moving. I should easily outdistance it.
Negative! Accelerate!
Well, we're about to learn who this gentleman was. So, as Beast was basically, he throws a bomb, jumps out the window. He's approached by a bunch of guys and first, some pieces from the grenade he throws fall. A piece of the robot fall in front of him. He decides to maybe take one as a sample. When he puts it in the petri dish, it takes over the dish and starts expanding. So he drops it, and then all reforms, forming back into the robot. So he realizes that it's some kind of nanotechnology in which every cell itself is some kind of robot that reconnects. So then he's approached.
I am called Warlock. It is not a name, but a title. I am heir apparent of the Phalanx.
Slightly ahead of me, but you're getting there. So then a bunch of guys in hazmat suits approach Beast, saying to get out of there because they're trying to contain the situation. Beast notices they have no vehicles and realizes they're also a subterfuge from this alien creature. I'm assuming I'm going to use the word alien because we just now know it's an alien. But then we see all those guys form together and become the robot again. So the robot obviously can take on many forms, different forms, reconnect, diversify, all that sort of stuff. So Beast runs to a vehicle, Wolverine's Jeep, takes the car. Unbeknownst to him, there's a little Phalanx piece that are hey Billy, that is stuck on the back of the truck.
How you doing?
Stuck on the back of the truck, so he drives off, and then that little piece forms into a smaller looking, similar to the other guy, but a much smaller, wiry version that introduces itself as Warlock, a peaceful version of this creature that wants to help Beast. So while it's explaining itself to Beast,
you gotta love Warlock. I love Warlock.
I don't think I know anything about. I don't think I've read one comic with the Warlock. I know who he is. I don't think I've read one comic with
any
Warlock.
New Mutants, then, sir.
No, I know he's one of the main characters. So.
What it cannot assimilate, it destroys.
It destroys. So I like the sort of dispassionate way his voice talks. It's almost a little sad.
It's a good performance.
So the Warlock character basically makes himself known and has an interesting way of speaking. Instead of saying me, he says self, or I.
Self-friend Andre.
Yeah, but even I wouldn't say to you all the time, my friend Davan. You know, I wouldn't say, my friend Davan, come over here. My friend Davan, take a look at the screen. My friend Davan, you are my friend Davan.
Well, I kind of like it. Maybe you should.
As I neared maturity, the time when I would forever merge with the Phalanx, I realized I had no heart for conquest. My life mate felt as I did.
Oh, okay. So that fills in a bit of his story. So he helps Beast escape the giant robot, basically, that's trying, before he can make it through the gates. It sort of runs up it puts its hands on the guardrails, and it runs up those, and then takes over the gate. But then Warlock jumps on Beast, takes him out of the Jeep, and flies him to safety. But as they're flying to their destination, he explains his backstory, which you just played. He was apparently the Warlock is a title for the Prince of the Phalanx, which is this race of beings that basically assimilate any culture that they encounter, making them one of their own. I guess when you hit a certain age, you join.
I got a lot to say. I got a lot of X points about all this.
Oh, good, because I don't know anything about it. So it seems strange that your species would let your king be separate from the Phalanx and then just join them later. It's very because if you're not an individual, you're just all one hive mind in the Phalanx. What's the point?
I'll explain it all, Andre, in
maybe
such detail.
Maybe it's like the changelings in Deep Space Nine. Oh man, that shirt's awesome, by the way. That's a Deep Space Nine baseball team shirt.
Go Niners.
That's amazing. So maybe it's like they send them off to get world experience, and then I don't know, who knows. But anyway, he had a mate. Him and his mate decided they didn't want to join, so they tried to escape. But then they ran into an asteroid storm, I think it was. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it forced them off to...
And then they crashed onto Earth. When he got there, he found out his mate was taken by the government, basically, at a ship. He came to and was looking for her, but then the government showed up. He was too scared to try to rescue her, sadly. But the creature that's attacking everyone now is his mate, who is the Phalanx have come looking for them, found them on Earth.
That creature is your life mate?
No! Yes! In part. The Phalanx has her now.
No! Yes. In part.
In part. Very, very robotic. I like it. So he
except for that first
no, yes, kind of. I mean, maybe sort of. Maybe a little bit. So
it's kind of embarrassing. I don't want to talk about it,
but a little bit. So Beast gets him to take him to the hospital, the blind hospital that that his former partner or current partner, whatever, is at, and where he's doing research with other people. So he's going to use the equipment.
There is no time for analysis.
There's no time. We should just yell at any time. You're like, let's go to our next segment. There's no time for this segment.
It's sinister to do that in the episode. Anytime anyone suggested anything, he would just cut onto a TV screen. There's no time. I thought I told Professor X.
Idiot.
No time.
So so they're studying the Phalanx. Basically, Beast is studying some of Warlock and realizing that it reforms into himself, which he's sort of amazed by. But he kind of realizes that it's some kind of electromagnetic thing which is causing all the pieces to stay together, and then if they can disrupt that, perhaps they can get ahead. But he sends a
that's pretty funny, actually.
Assimilation occurs rapidly in metallic substances, but more slowly in non-metals. Living tissues are also assimilated quickly, yet mutant tissue seems somehow immune.
Wait,
Yeah.
that's not the funny part. But yeah.
Well, it's interesting. It's a lot of information there.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Of course! The rate of the assimilation is directly proportional to the substance's electrical conductivity.
Query. What is Skelhorn Hank talking about?
What is so
What? Also, like just a bunch of gibberish. Of course. How could I have been so blind? I should have known all of this scientific gibbly gawk. Like anyway. So
he quotes some scientist at the end, just like
yeah, just Tennyson. So he calls President Kelly, and President Kelly's like, he's like, there's doings are transpiring, and Kelly's like, all right, we'll send a helicopter over to get you two right away, and then hangs up, and then Beast is like, great, and then Warlock's like, well, how does Warlock raises the point, well, how did Kelly know there's both of us? And then Beast realizes they've been had, that this is also the Phalanx, that the president's been taken over by this thing as well. Also, I forgot
the president are big homies now, though. Like
they are pretty good friends. Kelly's had a pretty good turnaround since season 1, where he was kind of it's amazing like how many politicians have such backwards ideas of anything until it affects them directly. They're like, yeah, gays aren't great, and then they're like, oh wait, my daughter's gay. Well, I've changed my opinion of gays. Like they're okay now. It's just like so fucking sad that empathy can only be achieved when it affects you directly. Like it's not
when politicians say, what are you talking, like especially like conservative or Republican politicians, like, what are you talking about? Of course I care about women's issues. I have a daughter. This is like, so like if you didn't have
you ask them what they want, maybe you should.
Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we also
Blake Griggs would like us to let Hasbro know that he would like more Marvel Legends X-Men figures. Do we have any connections with Hasbro yet?
Do we? I'm the president,
but we're working on it.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're phalanxing our way into this X-Men world.
We also learned earlier that the Phalanx, I guess, can shapeshift, and we see Warlock shapeshift into a human form to blend in when they're walking through the hospital. So when they realize that they've been had, basically, as they realize that Professor Kelly has been replaced, the Phalanx sentry, I guess we'll call it, comes through the phone lines and busts into the building, looking after them. But Beast and Warlock managed to make a fairly hasty retreat, and Beast decides to use his backpack, which really can do everything. It's a radio too, and some kind of a cell phone.
When he pulls the big friggin' gun out of there, you're gonna be like, how did he fit that in there? But
he says that his expertise is mostly molecular biology, but he knows someone whose is robotic. So he reaches out to him, and that person is.
I wish I could say I'm happy to see you, but for some reason the visit from the X-Men is usually more trouble than it is worth.
Which is funny because this is only the second time that they've had an encounter with the X-Men, unless something's happened between this episode and the one where we met the X Factor to begin with.
And one of the times he attacked the X-Men, so it's just like, who was the trouble that time?
Exactly. I mean, he
trained his team. He's like, we're going to attack you out of the blue.
He doesn't know anything about future Forge's issues with the X-Men or connections to the X-Men, because he's not that man yet. But I mean, I guess Quicksilver may have probably told him about what happened with the trip to Wundagore Mountain and all that stuff.
No, he took his team to fight the X-Men. That wasn't in the future.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, you hear that? That was a motorcycle.
Yeah, what was that?
A motorcycle driving by.
Settle down there, bud.
Oh my God, it's crazy. So that was the X Factor episode, the Iceman episode, right? So that was the only time that they've encountered them, and they're also like, went right to bat right away. So Beast basically explains, what's going on quickly. Forge is hesitant to believe him, but Beast doesn't have a history of playing games like this, so says they'll meet him at this cafe.
Mr. McCoy isn't given to flights of fancy, Quicksilver.
That is true. But then Beast finds out from Warlock that Warlock can detect. Oh, there's a kitty. That Warlock can detect. That Warlock.
Grumpy kitty.
Oh no, the grumpy kitty.
Yeah,
So he finds out
boy.
that Warlock can detect other Phalanx in disguise, but he needs to see them in person. So
exactly.
Then we see that the Phalanx are taking over the Empire State Building, which they're calling the Spire. And there's all these weird little robot heads and this guy that I believe from reading some stuff about this episode we've seen before. And I'm guessing we learn more about next episodes. We don't know anything else, but he seems to be working for the Phalanx, or he's part of them. He's got all these cybernetic appendages, but he seems to be human partially. And
I think we know who he is.
We don't know who he is yet. They don't say.
No, but I know who he is.
Well, we do because it's mentioned in the next episode, I believe.
I didn't see that yet, but yeah.
So there's a funny
mishmash of comic stuff.
There's a funny scene where like Warlock is watching Forge and Quicksilver go into the diner, and he's got his eyes are extended out like telescopes, and they're just going like this. And then Beast is like, "Could you please not do that?" Like it's very disturbing. He's like, "Sorry," and he says they are both.
And at last, all life on this world will attain the perfection of the Phalanx.
Oh, you're way the fuck ahead of us now.
Okay.
So it's all right. So Warlock goes back in his human doctor form. Beast and him go into the diner to meet Forge and Quicksilver, and then they're passed by a gentleman who is obviously Mr. Sinister in a robe or in disguise. He's got a trench coat on and a big hat. They don't really recognize him right away. They go in, they sit down with Forge and Quicksilver and explain what's going on. Quicksilver doesn't really buy it, but Forge is like, as you said, Beast is not prone to flights of fancy. He's like, and he's also like, and plus the evidence. Well, first, Warlock turns back into his regular form to prove to them. But then also the robot.
Who is? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, who is prone to flights of fancy? Dank McCoy.
Ooh, he is, because he's. So then a crowd like Forge is like, well, he's not prone to flights of fancy, but also there's the evidence out the window, and there's like a bunch of people like with like bionicle arms trying to get in. Like they could open the door. It is a public space. Like they're all seemingly milling outside the window instead of just opening the door and coming inside.
Phalanx don't know how to open doors.
When Beast asks the waitress if she can point them towards the rear exit, it's revealed the waitress is also a Phalanx, which is funny because it had ample opportunity to attack them, but didn't until just now, which is quite funny.
You're gonna get their good meat.
They're like, there is no escape, and then it forms, and it absorbs Forge's leg right away.
Mm-hmm.
Warlock reaches out, recognizing his mate. The mate has a
Life mate! No! Please!
Warlock! Help self!
Help self!
But then the sentry mode takes over. They manage to make it out the back door, throw some grenade, or Beast throws some more grenades in as he does everywhere, just hurling grenades left and right. Beast. Quicksilver runs to get the van. Beast tries to stop him, but Forge just tells them to go on without him. He doesn't have a leg right now, so he's having trouble walking. But then Warlock, in a really cool little moment, becomes his leg, like forms into Forge's leg so Forge can run.
Classic Warlock move. It's
pretty cool, actually. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when Quicksilver runs into the van, it turns out the van is also a Warlock or a Phalanx, and absorbs him as well. So they lose Quicksilver. But then they're approached by our formerly trench-coated friend Sinister, who has a ship to help them get out of there because he needs their help basically to stop what's going on.
Though Mr. Sinister may seem an odd ally, the pragmatism of the enemy of your enemy is your friend seems to apply.
Tennyson.
I don't think Tennyson. But anyway, they're on Sinister's ship. Sinister's explaining that he's been trying to stop this. It's getting out of control. They fix Forge's leg back into a robot leg. I guess Sinister just had one laying around they could use, and then they fly over the spire and see that the center of the new Phalanx Covenant is in fact the Empire State Building. End of episode. To be continued.
Now, self-friend Beast, Forge, your world is doomed.
Dun 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 dun.
Doomed. Whatever will we do? Well, what we will do is rate this episode.
Each of us will have to look into his own heart and decide.
Sad, Andre.
You know what? 10.
Mhm.
I like this
It's a
episode.
good one, isn't
The
it?
animation was great. It featured a bunch of characters we didn't see very often. Warlock was kind of a fun little character that wasn't a goofy lunatic like Bender was in the previous thing. Yeah, all the setup stuff was really interesting and fun. I really liked it, man. I thought it was a great episode. I'm giving it a solid 10.
I was gonna say 9, but I think you might have.
It was
convinced
fun,
me. 10.
adventure. You didn't know what
It
was
was
going.
good.
You're running around. There's some horror elements. There's some truly
Yeah.
disturbing imagery in this episode. It was all very cool.
It throws you off from like the comic stuff because it's such a mismatch of that stuff, and it's very much its own thing.
Well, which it should be, and this sort of stuff. So.
Yeah, but like on a lot of the adapted storylines, they don't do that.
Yeah, no, exactly. But this one's cool.
Yeah. All right, I can go first here because I have like a lot of them. I have like 10 X points tonight. Jesus, even more than 10. I have like 15 X points. Yeah, I won't go on about all of them. Skip that one. That one's boring. All right. Well, let's just get started. So, okay, here's where I'm going to start. No, I can't. I got to save that. So, they say in this episode that Warlock is a member of the Phalanx, or that he would, and that's his race, and he was going to, or at least he was going to join the Phalanx, or like ascend to that level of his society. Now that's interesting because Marvel sort of comes back to that sort of idea in the Krakoan era, but where Warlock is really from is he's from the Technarchy, not the Phalanx. So he's from the Technarchy, and he was fleeing the Technarchy.
He's a separate. There's two races that are exactly the same because the Phalanx look like that too.
No, well, yes, because the Phalanx in the comics. Well, I mean, I'll spoil it, but this was the Phalanx Covenant.
Yeah.
This is the.
Oh yeah, I remember those. Yeah,
it's gonna be my recommendation later. But anyway, so what they're doing there is they had just given up on all the Sentinel stuff because they were getting too much heat for all that trouble the Sentinels always cause. So the mutant haters were looking for a new way to overpower and hunt and kill mutants. And Warlock had recently been killed in the comics. Stay here. Extinction Agenda. Very sad. So they got hold of his body. So they implanted like his Technarchy in his transmode virus. Like he has like the techno-organic virus that Cable has, same sort of deal. The transmode virus he has. And they put that into humans. And to give them like crazy superpowers and cloning abilities and all that kind of stuff, like to be other people and that sort of. So they're just like people that are super enhanced by Warlock, essentially in the comics. That's what they're the Phalanx Covenant in the comics. Those people that, yeah. But there's more, but I'll save it for another X point.
All right, my first X point. Jean Grey's not in this episode at all. Neither is Gambit, neither is Storm. Well, Storm.
Cyclops.
You only see him curled up in one of the Phalanx balls. So I kind of like this. This is another one of those episodes where like there's like two X-Men, and we lose everyone else. So it's just interesting. There's been a lot of that lately, but this one kind of is fun, and it's like it's almost this reminds me of
Jubilee. That's awesome. That's an awesome combo.
You know what's awesome? It reminds me of there's a great episode of the Justice League Unlimited series where the Justice League themselves are fighting some huge threat, and at the same time they put Blue Beetle and Booster Gold on crowd duty, and so they're just helping the crowd while there's a big fight going on over here. So we don't really see the big fight. We know it's really interesting. You hear them saying like, "Oh God, like we've never fought anything like this before," and all of a sudden, like Batman falls into frame, and he's like split, and he looks half like Superman, half like Batman, and he's like, "Carry on," and then just goes back into the battle, and then like, but then when those two are doing crowd control, they stumble upon some big threat that could destroy the world as well, and have to stop it. But at the very end of the episode, like all the Justice League, like this may have been our heaviest battle ever. That we've never seen any of it. Like we've only followed these other two that are on this smaller mission, but also becomes very important. So it was very. I think Buffy did a similar episode one time too. So it's very cool. It was a neat little thing that reminded me of that.
Excellent. Anyway, well, let's move. So, okay. Well, I might as well pick up in my discussion about the Technarchy and the Phalanx and whatnot.
Go for it.
So, in this, obviously, they've changed that and they made the Phalanx an alien race. Now, in House of X, Powers of 10, especially Powers of 10, they've kind of reworked the Phalanx again. Now, I guess it could have been the evolution of the Phalanx Covenant created in this comic. But what they basically changed, it seems like a retcon to me. So basically, the Technarchy, becoming a Technarchy, is kind of like an inevitable evolution of a sentient species, essentially, like a sentient humanoid species. Like, you have your Kardashev class that species. You can power or harness the entire power of your planet, then your Kardashev class 1, that type of thing, and you just keep going up. It's sort of like that. Now, once humans or mutants or whatever, likely mutants, reach a certain level of, perfecting their life and themselves on the planet, then the Phalanx arrives to assimilate them. Very much like something else I'm going to mention in my next X point. But and if they find you're unworthy, what they do is they send a Technarchy with the transmode virus, because what the Phalanx wants is everything to be consumable by them. Like it's they can sort of consume and work with humans, but mutants, because their X gene are immune to the transmode virus. So they need to get rid of mutants, basically. So they need to so then they send out a Technarchy, and the Technarchy builds a spire, and which happens
a lot
in
of stuff
this.
going on there.
Oh, and
A lot of
then
big
eventually, and then once it's consumable and ready for the Phalanx, and the Phalanx comes back, because the Phalanx in the comics, in this, and I guess in this, like it's because they've sort of taken from this. I feel like they've taken from this episode and worked it into the newer stuff. But
I wonder how
yeah,
often
so
that
it's like
works
an
with it.
inevitable. It's an inevitable thing that will happen on any civilization if it goes on long enough. You'll be visited by the Phalanx, basically.
Interesting. All right. Well, my point, the truck that Sabretooth busts out of in the episode, if you notice on the side of said truck, it says Joe's Calamari, which is a sign on the side, which is another reference. They made one before on a sign, I believe, for the executive producer, Joseph Calamari.
Well, that's funny. Well, go back to my next point, I guess. Then they mentioned meet at Sid's restaurant or Sid's diner or something like that.
Yeah.
Sid's Grill, actually, is what it was. I think that's, again, a nod to Fox producer of this show, Sidney Ewanter, or Iwanter. I still don't know. We chat all the time, but I don't know how to say his name.
Jesus.
Working on it.
All right. My third X point. Where's his name here? David Corbin, the voice of Warlock. He's
Daniel
only
Blanchard says, but all the other mutants that come make these 2 episodes fire.
I agree. That's why I gave it 10, Daniel. It's still, I gave it a 10. That was an X. So, yeah, David Corbin, who's from New Zealand, he only has 3 voice credits in his entire filmography in IMDb.
Including your favorite character of all time.
What? What do you mean?
Continue with your X point.
Tar Baby?
Yeah.
No. So Sonic the Hedgehog, he did additional voices on that cartoon from '93, the one that Jaleel White did the voice of Sonic on, Urkel himself. Then we have he did one episode of Spider-Man the animated series.
He was Hydro Man.
It just says was he Hydro Man?
Yeah, he was Hydro Man.
Oh, then he was in a couple episodes.
He might have only voiced him in one of those episodes.
That's possible. Rory Bench, is that his real name? I think
Maury Bench.
It's Rory, I believe.
Nah, that's definitely not.
You don't think so? How much money you want to bet?
Everything I have.
Everything you have? Morris Bench is right. I was right this whole time.
No, you weren't. Right. Give me everything you have. Give it to me now.
I didn't agree on the bet.
Give me one of your gremlins.
I did not agree. You're not getting a gremlin. Fuck you. My gremlin.
Adam Zed says, fantastic Chris Britton interview. And he's also glad we love this episode.
Well, we don't do 0.5.
Oh, he went for 10. We're all going up to 10. Yep.
He had 9.5, but he went to 10. We don't do 0.5 here. So if we did, maybe that would be on the table. But if it's between a 9 and a 10, it's definitely a 10. So
thanks. We enjoyed the interview as well. Fun guy to talk to.
It was really fun. And then the final one was Tar Baby and Warlock and the Phalanx here on this episode, these episodes. So yeah, it's a shame he only had 3 credits. Hopefully he went on to have a good career doing something else.
All right, so
he was born in 1980, so he would have only been
12. No, he would have been 15.
No,
16.
He would have been like 16. Maybe that. Oh, so he probably only did kids' voices or young voices. That might be why.
Makes sense. Though Hydro Man is kind of weird, but he would have been probably 20 by then.
You sure he was Hydro Man? It just says actor voice.
Okay, I thought I read somewhere that he was Hydro Man. But
well, maybe not according to this, but
makes sense because Warlock's kind of a child sounding like character.
Yeah, and so he may have just been a child voice actor. He's only
really
5
freaking
years
good
old.
if that was the case.
Than me.
Because this is really good voice acting. Like
the same age as my brother. The guy would only be
42. Well, what else have we got here? So yeah, Sinners. My next X point. How many X points are we on now? How many did you do?
I did 3.
Okay, I'm on my 4th. Sinister mentions that his records are destroyed. Now that's crazy because he has the most detailed records of like the human genome and like people's DNA.
Well, we haven't established that
anyone on Earth. No, but like what he's referring to his records. What do you think those are? Like that's pretty crazy. Like that's crazy for his life because his life is that data, you know. And now if that's gone, no wonder he's freaking out so much. And even asking Professor Xavier for help. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of odd too. Like it seems like they're old buddies the way he talks to him on the phone. Like, I need your help, Professor. You know, considering, you know.
It is, yeah. They're contemporaries.
All right, my next quote is, or my next point, my 4th point is when Wolverine and Charles's little exchange in the when Wolverine storms in, he finds that Sabretooth is being held at the mansion. I like this. It shows that Wolverine has grown as a character to accept Charles's leadership and not question everything, but not
this time he stormed away.
About it. Yeah,
because they've had this conversation, this exact conversation before.
Because Charles, like Wolverine says, we got to talk. Xavier says, seems that you have heard. Wolverine says, you know how I feel. Okay. Go on, breathe and get him out of here. Charles says, as long as Xavier is in our custody, he's under my protection. If you want to attack him, you'll have to deal with me. Wolverine growls, stabs the wall. Then Wolverine says, all right, but I warned you before. Nobody listened. If he stays, he gets me as a babysitter. Actually, I prefer to get some rest. And he goes, I prefer that too, but it ain't going to happen, which is pretty great. So, yeah, I just like it shows some kind of growth for the Wolverine's character. So,
yeah, right. Well, I guess my last one, I will say.
I started. No, you started.
I started.
Yep.
Oh my God, it's okay, buddy. I have a freaking out cat. Well, I think I know maybe why the animation was good. I feel like maybe this was delayed a bit or something in its release, even though it doesn't have Larry Houston in the credits. So that makes me wonder if that's true. But did you notice the outro credits?
No.
it plays an advertisement for
for an episode that's not
that
this one.
Rogue
Yeah, I
episode
did notice that.
that from
Yeah.
last season.
It
It's
was
the
the
one
Brood
with like the
episode.
body
Yeah.
snatchers.
Yeah. Which is weird because it's
Yeah.
like the end of part 1 and then it goes into
I know.
another episode.
So
Unless they were breaking
was
it up because Rogue was there. She was No, okay. There's no way that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It is very strange.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Back to you.
I just wanted to hammer home the fun horror elements of this episode. There's some quite disturbing imagery in this of like all the little heads and the weird tendrils and like the cold people that are like imposters because they're part of the Phalanx.
And the voices too, like you hear those like Borgish voices.
It's kind of got all the right sort of combinations of like the changelings, the Borg.
Did I mention the Borg?
No,
that was supposed to be one of my X points. Oh, that was supposed to be my last X point. All right, I need 6 then. Continue.
That's it. Just they injected a little bit of the horror stuff in this, which I liked, and it's always cool when it pops up.
A little of the Borg into this, like basically,
100%.
The Borg were hot at this.
But the last episode to have like horror elements like this was probably the one with Proteus, and that wasn't even as cool as this one. So.
No, this is good stuff. But so Borg, they just basically took the Phalanx from the comics, didn't really do any of that, and just made them the Borg because they liked the Borg.
The Borg.
Like they even say things like seeking perfection and everything. Like they're just 100% the Borg. Like, tell me this isn't the Borg Queen. You even hear all the other Borg.
And at last, all life on this world will attain the perfection of the Phalanx.
It's just the Borg.
Played by veteran horror actress. What's her name? Alice Krieg.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Who you may know if you're a horror fan from the movie Sleepwalkers. She is the mother.
Yes, she was.
That has sex with her son. They're aliens. It's not the same as us. Or some kind of people that... It's very vague in that movie what those things are. I don't think they're aliens. They're like some kind of ancient creatures that just live on Earth. But they're like cat people that are hurt by cats. It's actually a very fun movie, but it's a very weird movie.
Is it?
Hey, check this out.
Hey, check this out. This is our comic reminiscences and recommendations. So I'll go first because I've been spoiling it like mad. So you know what's funny about this? It's the Phalanx Covenant, and I already explained how it's a bit different from... There's basically 3 different stories going through a few different books, but this one in the Uncanny X-Men actually sets up. See, it's bringing in
I remember seeing those.
Those
covers really bring me back because I used to remember back in the day when they had like those guides for comics that you could order, like that were coming out, that would put in the back of the comics, or you get in Wizard Magazine or something, so you get them delivered to your house. I remember seeing that one and thinking I really want to read that comic.
Well, the funny thing is, I took the opposite approach. I can pinpoint the moment I stopped collecting comics to this very issue. I never bought this issue back in the day because this was the issue where I was finally done with all the fancy, shiny covers. I saw this very issue on an
the 90s must have been hell
Boy
for
Meets
you.
World. I was just like, you know what? If this very issue's on Boy Meets World, it's not cool anymore. So, and like it's a thick cover, so it made it hard to read. It was just getting ridiculous. Like, look at this crap in here. Like, what is this? I don't need all this crap in the middle of my comic. Like, what is this? What is this? Like, not necessary. It's a Cyclops timeline. Why do I need a Cyclops timeline?
They keep track of Cyclops' timeline.
And like, it got a bit ridiculous. This is like the very day. The week this came out is when I got out of comics as a kid. I mean, I still kind of dabbled, but like I stopped buying them. I stopped hunting them down. Yeah. Phalanx Covenant. But now I can appreciate it more. But the 90s were getting a bit ridiculous by the time this came out. And it was the straw that broke this camel's back.
That's funny.
Go read it. It's a good story. It's fine.
But read it, whatever.
Yeah, go read a Phalanx Covenant. Uncanny X-Men 316 is the first part.
316? Uncanny X-Men 316 said, I just whooped your ass.
Just give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. That's hilarious. So Yeah. All right. Mine is, and it's not. So this episode, I'm only bringing this up because I was getting a bit of a rush getting home, so I didn't get a chance to select something I would like to. But I have been reading it on Comixology because it showed up as free under Kindle Unlimited. Not free, but part of Kindle Unlimited. So I thought, I haven't read that since I was young. I'm going to read it again. And thinking about this episode and how this is full of 90s stuff, which is like robot legs, the Phalanx, all this goofy 90s goodness. I've been reading Maximum Carnage, the Spider-Man series featuring Carnage and everybody at the kitchen sink. I read the intro from I read the intro from the writer DeMatteis there, and
It's funny you should say that.
Are you reading it too?
No, but like I was saying, how this issue of the Phalanx Covenant was the most '90s thing of all time. Guess what? It just so happens to have in it
an ad for Maximum Carnage. Oh, the video game, yeah. I love that game. But Maximum Carnage was like such a weirdly nihilistic comic. Like it has just scenes of carnage and all his people just ripping people to shreds, like just killing innocent bystanders left and right, hand over fist. There's like panels where he's standing on mountains of dead bodies. Like it's such a darkly nihilistic thing to have in a Spider-Man comic in the 90s. And I remember DeMatteis says in the intro that he wasn't interested in doing anything with Carnage until somebody posited the idea that Carnage represents like true evil. And then it was sort of like almost like The Stand, the Stephen King story, like a good versus evil story of like the purest good versus the worst evil. And it's an interesting book. There's I don't think it needs to be 14 parts because there's an awful lot of them just fighting each other quickly and then killing a bunch of random people.
Lots of cameos.
Oh, well, yeah, and they join Spider-Man's team all over. It's all at the end of almost every episode of it ends with some new person joining either one of the good guys or one of the bad guys. It's like Deathlock, Captain America, Cloak, Dagger, Black Cat, like just everybody. Venom's
actually sold off all my issues of Maximum Carnage.
It's kind of ridiculous, but kind of fun in a weird way. It's very 90s, but I'm here for it for now.
And my first appearance of Carnage, which shot up in value. After
I have that too.
Nothing. I don't anymore. I sold it for nothing when it was.
I have two copies of it, 2 or 3 actually. Someone gave me their collection. It was in there. Same with the first appearance of Venom. Not as much as you'd expect. It's like only like $400 or $500.
That's pretty good actually for a comic book.
Yeah, it's not bad. That's it. Maximum Carnage. Read it for fun 90s cheese.
Go for it. And then play the video game.
And then eat some fun 90s cheese. Well, maybe not 90s cheese, but it's probably bad by now. But,
eat scrape the mold off.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
You don't like the movie? Change the channel.
Your remote taking us tonight, Andre?
Well, I forgot to grab it because it's in the other room and I was in a hurry to get here in time. And by time, I mean the 4th time we set it back. But the movie I'm going to suggest...
have a vivid imagination. Don't worry about it.
The movie I'm going to suggest this evening is one of my all-time favorites. I don't believe I suggested on this show before. It is from the 80s. It is one of the greatest horror films of all time by one of the greatest directors of all time and features a creature that assimilates others and forms them into itself called The Thing by John Carpenter.
Best movie ever.
One of the best, if not, it's John Carpenter's best movie for sure. But he has a lot of fantastic movies. It's one of them. It is fucking fantastic. If you haven't seen it, if you've never heard of it before, you're missing out. Go watch it. Watch it in the winter, watch it in the summer, watch it anytime. The winter is particularly good because it takes place in the Arctic. But it's a great movie about distrust, about assimilation, about not knowing who you can count on in a world where everybody is a potential threat. And it's great. Fantastic.
You made me list off where we might have mentioned it. Is you made me list off my favorite horror movies on this show. Maybe it was on your show we were talking about that when I was interviewing you.
Could have been.
Maybe that's when it was. And I listed off what I thought were my 3 favorite horror movies. And then you mentioned The Thing, and then I realized I like The Thing better than all those picks I just made. So The Thing is probably my favorite horror movie. I love that freaking movie.
It's up there. Mine is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but The Thing is in the top 5 for sure.
All right, that's a good place to take for your remote to take us, Andre. I totally second that recommendation.
You're welcome.
All right, now where are we at?
Perhaps you'd better take over from here.
I'll take over from here. Listen to some opera. Listen to Pavarotti, one of the great voices of all time. Opera's the shit. People listen to punk music and shit and not opera, and it drives me crazy. Listen to opera. Listen to the best music you can get, and that's opera and jazz, shit like that. So listen to Pavarotti.
You're so angry that
why are you
nobody
laughing?
listens. You're so angry that nobody listens to opera.
I do. One of my biggest pet peeves is that people prefer bad music over good music. A lot of people, and it does bother me. I mean, it's all subjective, of course.
No such thing as
I
bad
know,
art.
I know. But you can't compare opera to like bashing power chords on an intellectual level. You know what I'm saying? If on an honest intellectual conversation, there's a lot more that goes into opera, a symphony, and then somebody with just the most trained voice of all time,
But opera is
rather than
such a
somebody
different
screaming
beast.
and bashing power chords. You know, there's no competition. So listen to friggin' Pavarotti. It'll be good for your soul. I recommend, of course, his version of Nessun Dorma is the pinnacle of that song. But also Una Furtiva Lagrima. Oh, that's a beautiful song. Check that one out. That's another one. And of course, you know, there's O Solo Mio and a lot of his famous ones.
Solo mio.
And there's like La Donne è mobile.
Oh, that one I recognize.
Oh yeah, everyone knows that one. You know, a lot of these songs, but listen to them. Oh, and Ave Maria, one of my favorite songs of all time. Check that out as well. Opera, man. Pavarotti. Do it. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I got insulty about other kinds of music. Do it because it's beautiful.
That's fair. Don't let Davan's immediate dismissal of other forms of music turn you off from actually listening to classical music. Classical music and opera is not necessarily something I listen to a lot, but I do think it's important to
let's do it more than any other style of music.
Probably. I feel like it's reserved for bad guys in movies. You only really listen to it when your plans coming together and you're drinking scotch or you're you know, conducting to an empty audience by yourself in your office while your plans are formulating.
Yes, because the bad guys are intelligent, and then the good guys just come in a tank top and stupid guns to punk music, and they're like, "Yeah." No, give me the intelligent villain anyway. I'll take the Doctor Doom over the friggin' Die Hard dude. Where are we at? Before I start ranting some more, my God, I could go on.
Die Hard dude does listen to classical music, and
does he?
Yeah, and you're Hans Gruber, 100%.
No, I don't mean him. I meant the friggin'.
Oh, you're talking about
McClane.
John McClane. Okay.
Yeah, Gruber. Yeah, Gruber's cool.
You ever think you might be a villain at heart, buddy?
No, because I don't have any of those dark impulses. I don't even
wake up. You are having one of your delusions.
I don't know. You got pretty dark. You got pretty.
I didn't even click on that.
Well, I think B thought you need to hear that.
That's odd. I'm moving on because that was a little freaky. Well, you know what? Let's just kind of bring this one to a bit of a close since it's quite late. Maybe skip our wonderful games. So we have any news from the new show that we need to update the X-Goons with?
No, some interesting news about Wolverine in general. They released a picture of Hugh Jackman in the Deadpool 3 movie wearing the yellow and blue costume.
I don't like the sleeves.
No? Well, it's about as close you're probably going to get with it not being, with it being what it is.
I just go all the way. Like, if you're going to go that far, why make them look stupid by putting sleeves on?
Well, I'd be hoping that the mask would be cool if they did that.
And the mask, like...
Well, he might have the mask.
I don't like half measures, and I didn't think.
Well, we don't know. He doesn't.
Marvel doesn't do half measures with their costumes and stuff. They do it. They go all in.
We don't know. He doesn't have the mask. He might have the mask.
I just hope he rips off the sleeves when he's angry.
That's interesting. I'm sleeveless and I'm angry.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, very exciting. No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
what's going on in the.
I'm stoked for that movie because there's a rumored big fight scene between Jean Grey and Scarlet Witch. If that's true, that's gonna be awesome, and I look forward to that.
Really, that would be interesting.
yeah. Like apparently,
there's also a rumor. There's also a rumor they're going to bring back Elektra as played by Jennifer
I heard that too. No thanks, but whatever for a
Oh,
joke.
come
maybe.
on, she's great. Let her go.
She was awful in that role.
Well,
I mean, it was an awful movie. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't written anything like the Electric character, or entertaining at all. It was a
Yeah,
really
I
bad
mean,
movie. And I owned it on VHS. It's
I
like a
think
good
that
little
was one. I
Marvel
think
zombie.
I used to buy every Marvel movie on DVD, and I think I passed on that one because it was so bad, which was rare for me at that time period. I actually liked the Ben Affleck
now is for you to
back
contact
in
your
the day.
students, Professor.
I mean, it's bad if you look at it compared to Netflix. Daredevil. It's homework.
Was it always Professor My Ex, or is that a new thing?
No, I just changed it.
I thought so. I was going to say, it does not seem right. Well, this was the Phalanx
Homework
Covenant.
from Professor My Ex.
This was the... I like that, actually. My Ex is pretty cool, close to my aunt, so it works.
And
the
you
Phalanx
could be
Covenant...
talking about your ex-girlfriend or something.
That's true. I could. I won't, but I could. The previous... so this episode was the Phalanx Covenant Part 1. It would stand to reason, Davan, that perhaps our ex-goons should watch the Phalanx Covenant Part 2, which is next week's episode. And by that, I mean the week after next week's episode. Because
I was about to say. Yeah.
Because I am away on a work thing for the day. So we'll be here in 2 weeks' time. But we got lots of time before season 4. We're going to figure out something to do in the interim, or maybe start.
One day he'll realize this is his job, ex-goons.
I wish it was. If I could be paid to just do this.
Did you bump into your mic or something? Because your thing just went tinny.
Did it? Maybe I was leaning too far in. Is that better?
No, you just. Oh, wait, you knocked it away from your face. Your mic.
Was I using? I don't think I was using that. Was I? Was I using this the whole time? Yeah. Oh, I've been using the wrong mic.
That's.
Let me just say here. Audio.
That's why it's been beeping maybe the whole episode. Beep beep beep. But yeah, you've been using.
I haven't heard that at all. Yeah, I'm using the wrong mic. It's not. I've had the Yeti in front of me the whole time. It's not even doing anything. Yep. Next time. I'm not sure what happened there. Weird.
Who's the Yeti, the mic, or you?
Both.
Come on now.
Well,
Come on now.
I like mics and Yetis. Combination of both.
All right. But yeah, that's your homework. But I'll add to that. Go check out the Chris Britton interview. You haven't checked that out yet.
Yeah, it's great. And read some X-Men comics. Read Max from Carnage. Just read some comics in general. Get into that.
And stay tuned for our next exciting interview in our exclusive interview series.
Ooh, do we have that coming up?
I have not booked that yet, but I'm about to. We'll see. I'm about to attempt to, I should say. Support the show at patreon.com/X-Men Review Show. Contact us at xmenreviewshow@gmail.com. Follow us on YouTube's Facebook and Twitch. No one follows us on Twitch. We're too old for Twitch, I think. Find our audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts. Please like, review, and subscribe. And we are a proud member of these United Federations of podcasts. Like... Are you announcing your big news?
I was going to announce it tomorrow anyway, I think, or no, the day after tomorrow. But yeah, I haven't recorded it yet, so that's why I don't like to announce it until I have it in the bag. But the next person I believe I'll be speaking with is another major get for me, which is Steve Rude, the dude himself, the artist who did co-created Nexus and did all the art on that. He did a lot of work. He did the Superman Incredible Hulk crossover comic. He did the X-Men Children of the Atom book. He did a ton of Spider-Man art. He did some beautiful, beautiful art. Really cool guy, and I'm really excited to talk to him. So, Steve the Dude Rude, my nice guest.
Oh, I guess I don't have that here in that bin. But he even did a couple pages in the classic X-Men Heroes for Hope issue. Remember that one?
Ooh, yes, I do remember that. Do you remember in the 90s when they used to put out X-Men, like when they put out comic book like swimsuit specials, and it's just like all these pinups of like the Punisher wearing like a Speedo and like all the
I don't remember the Punisher in there.
There's one of the Punisher. There's one of the Punisher in there. It's so ridiculous. It's like, don't look at pornography. Buy a comic book and just look at a hand-drawn picture of non-real people. It's so dumb.
Yeah, guys like Greg Horn and like they get work.
This is before him. Well, I'm before him.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like I said, United Federation of Podcasts, we're all looking forward to that next Graphic Histories interview. I know I am. Hold Up a Movie podcast tomorrow night. Me and Murphy and our guest Adam Woodward can't make it, so it's just gonna be me and Murphy talking about disaster movies. So check that
Last
out.
episode was a lot of fun. I liked your boat episode movie. Your boat
Oh,
episode.
thanks. You seen all those movies?
I've seen 0 of those movies.
Oh wow!
I might watch Captain Ron. It sounds fun.
I love Captain Ron. One of my favorite movies as a kid. I love it.
Das Boot has always been on my list, but it's a daunting task. It's such a long movie. But I would like to watch it someday. And what was the other one? Oh, Heart of the Sea seemed interesting to me, but it also kind of, your guys' description always sort of confirmed what I feared it was. So I'm not sure if I'll watch it.
It is. I feel like we were maybe easy on it. But yeah, Super Mater Brothers, they do reality shows over there. Review them, don't do them, and other things too. I think they were reviewing like the Warrior show over there right now, and we also do the Mary Mater Marvel Society over there. Oh, I'm gonna need a Secret Invasion poster here soon, Andre. There's only 2 episodes left.
Interesting.
Secret Invasion.
I just got. So go ahead.
Well, we got, of course, our handsome crew over there at the Live Long podcast, where we have umpteen Star Trek shows and content for you. I have an interview coming up on our First Contact over here in the Locutors division with writer Derek Tyler Attico next month, who's writing the autobiography of Captain Benjamin Sisko. So I'm looking forward to talking to Derek about that. Geez, I'm just your little interview protege now, aren't I, Andre?
Sure are. Well, before we say goodbye, sorry, continue.
Oh, it's also Trivial Debates, Aiming on Track, Hellbound Podcast. That's our Happy Federation. All right, go ahead, Andre.
A couple things that came to my attention this evening. One is that Taylor Swift is now the female artist with the most #1 albums of all time. So congratulations!
You're
Taylor
about to
Swift,
make me
Taylor
mad
Swift
again.
fans.
Listen to opera.
Davan,
there are people like Sarah Brightman who can actually sing.
I love Sarah Brightman. She's in the movie Repo the Genetic Opera, which is one of my favorite movies. But there's room for both, Davan. I know it's frustrating that you don't think enough people are listening to yours. I actually like Taylor Swift.
No, it's a complete imbalance in our society. Like it makes no sense.
Fair enough. The other thing is apparently there's been some new announcements regarding
garbage rises to the top. Isn't that what they say?
Side note, have you heard about the casting for Superman Legacy? How do you feel about it?
Well, I've never heard of the guy playing. Oh, obviously, honestly,
have you seen the other announcements that Nathan Fillion is playing Guy Gardner?
Yes, I'm not too. He's like the shitty Green Lantern.
He's the jerk Green Lantern, but I'm excited for that. He's perfect for that role. I mean, people always want to be Hal Jordan.
I'll watch Fillion. Yeah,
they've cast Hawk Girl, and they've cast the guy that played Noho Hank on Barry as Metamorpho. There's somebody else.
The part I'll say about that guy.
He has alopecia, so he has no hair. But they also it looks like they're casting like some of the fun Justice League Europe version of the Justice League for what's going on in some of this, which sounds pretty great to me. There's a heavy rumor that John Mulaney has been cast as Plastic Man, which I think is pretty great as well.
That's good casting
and well, also apparently Daniel Craig has been offered the role as Lex Luthor, but we're not.
I heard that.
Which would be excellent if he was. He would be very good in the role because he would be like in shape and like a good. He played well.
Yeah, exactly. He could be a formidable opponent. Yeah.
You know, I've always wanted to see
Luther
him in
like he'd be war suit.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see Luthor in the war suit in a live action movie, and I feel like if anyone's going to do it, James Gunn's the one.
He's going to do everything. Like it's James.
I'm excited for
all. He's going to cast all his buddies. Sean Gunn's going to end up as a DC character. Well, he already is.
He's Weasel.
He's Weasel. Yeah. You get like when it comes to James
awesome
Gunn.
Stuff.
That's what I worry about a little bit. Yeah, I agree, but there's also a bit of a similarity to a lot of it. Which, if he's running like an entire brand, I worry that could be a thing. Not that I care. It's not a DC fan.
He's never done anything wrong in my opinion.
Yeah, there's no reason to doubt him. There's no reason to doubt.
Even his weird ass indie shit. I'm sure, like, I haven't watched Tromeo and Juliet for Troma, but I'm sure it's still fun. So
I have seen Tromeo and Juliet.
Is it
I used
good?
to watch all that Troma shit because it used to come on late at night when I was a kid and had a TV.
He also wrote the 4th Toxic Avenger movie, but he didn't direct them. He just wrote them.
I only saw the first one of Toxic Avenger. Oh, I saw Toxic Avenger 2, I think. Like, my parents used to let me rent those movies. Like, I was a little kid. It was like, oh, Toxic Avenger, it must be superheroes. Let him rent it. And I was like,
let him run it.
Romeo and Juliet. And
That's
there were some other weird ones. Oh man, I saw some weird Troma stuff back in the day. Yeah, Lloyd Kaufman, man.
I have a few. I have the Class of Nukem High movies on Blu-ray and the Toxic Avenger movie. I think I have like Culture Shock and a few of the other ones that are actually like artistically supposed to be pretty good. Tromeo and Juliet I came across in a bin somewhere, and I knew it was like James Gunn's first movie, so I grabbed like that he wrote and directed, so I grabbed it. But I'm excited for all the stuff. Like I said, I know we're an X-Men podcast, but I think when comics are all doing well, a rising tide floats all boats. So I think great Superman movies are going to make for some great stuff. So I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, and if it's good, maybe I'll see it. I mean, I doubt it, but maybe.
It's going to be good.
Suicide Squad movie. So.
You did see it?
Yeah,
it's a beautiful movie. It's probably one of my top 5 favorite superhero movies of all time. It's fantastic.
It was fine.
It's fantastic. Any movie that makes me cry because while watching a giant pink starfish crush a fictional city in south.
You didn't get the emotional beats from that movie.
Oh man, did I ever? Oh dude, it's
entertaining bubblegum.
No, it's so many emotional beats. So many.
They didn't resonate with me.
When she's rescuing, when she's
the rat thing is like the best.
Yeah, when she's holding him because she knows he's afraid of rats and she's controlling them and they're attacking the thing, and then it shows her talking to her dad when she was a kid and he explains why
that's the
rats.
Best scene.
It's so heartbreakingly sad but true. Like everything has a purpose in this world, even the things that we dismiss and think are garbage and don't appreciate, like rats. And that's what the people that fall into the life of crime are as well.
It just felt like a watered down version of the messaging and like allegories he was making in the Guardians movies. It just felt
somewhat.
like that.
I mean, that one was more like
condensed. Like it just felt like his bubblegum version of those themes, sort of like
I guess, but like
he was really putting a lot into the Rocket character. He sort of put some of that a little bit into.
But they weren't like bad
character.
people. They were, you know what I mean? Like they were like it's almost like finding your chosen family with the Guardians movies. This one was more about like that redemption is possible for anyone, and that like having faith in humans. You know that even the darkest of us are capable of something good. And I don't know. To me, I just loved it. It spoke to me in a lot of ways.
He's good with those themes. He's good with those types of themes. Really good.
Sure is. Anyway, that's it. Enjoy. Thanks for watching. Sorry we were late tonight. It's life's busy, but if you're like me,
as we all know,
if you're like me and you mostly only listen to audio podcasts, you're just going to get this tomorrow anyway, and nothing's going to be different.
Men came. Many men.
Depending on who you are, that could be a good time.
All right, catch you next time. Everybody.
Next time.
I guess we need to be thankful for small favors.